have to.
Om Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. All right, so we are in the transition from the chapter 3 to chapter 4, and they are all about the sacrifice, especially chapter 4. And it would be interesting to read about the sacrifice, and maybe there was a suggestion to look into the Rigvedic vision of the sacrifice to understand better what Sri Krishna is trying to say. And also maybe we will look into the Aitareya vision of the Purusha sacrifice, and maybe even take the mother's story on the sacrifice, and then put them together and see what we are dealing with. If you don't mind. Of course, it's a big plan, but in case we have to go there. Otherwise, of course, we can just skip it or mention it.
No skipping, no skipping. We don't have to. We want to go there.
Okay.
We would like to go there.
All right. Lovely. Anyhow, let me project then the text. Wait a second. Here we are. So this is the beginning of the chapter 4. Shri Bhagavanuvacha. I will read first a few verses from this chapter and then translate them. I have my book separately also. All right. Shri Bhagavanuvacha. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavanaham avyayam vivasvan manave praha manur ikshvakave bravit. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu. Sakalene hamahata yogo nashtaf parantapam. Sa evayam maya tedya yoga proktaf puratanaha. Bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. Arjuna Uvacha. Okay, these three first shlokas, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the blissful Lord said, Imam yogam, this yoga, vivasvate, to the Lord of the Sun, proktavan aham, I declared, avyayam, indestructible. Vivasvan, the Lord of the Sun, manave praha, spoke to Manu. Manu is our mental being, mental matrix. Manur ikshvakave bravit. And Manu, or our group soul formation, declared it to Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku is the first king of solar dynasty. We have two dynasties in India, two dynasties of kings. One is Ikshvaku and solar dynasty, which Sri Krishna maintained, so to say. He declared his yoga, his karma yoga, notice, to the Lord of the Sun, and which came to the first king of the solar dynasty. And there is another lunar or moon dynasty of the kings, which starts with Pururavas and Urvashi, which we know from the Rig Veda. You remember that beautiful story of the king who fell in love with Apsarasa, and she became his wife, and then she disappeared, and he was going around calling her all over the earth. And his name is Pururavas, crying wide all over. He was calling her everywhere, going like a madly in love. And he finally found her in the form of the swan. She was hiding from him, but he recognized her in that form on the lake and said, "You heartless woman, I was so madly in love with you, and you're hiding here in the form of the swan." And then she reappeared and she told him, "I am fed up with you, so please go. I don't want to go back to you and be your lover." So that was the end of the story. That's him, or Ururavas, Pururavas, the one who is crying wide, and she, her name is Urvashi with wide thighs. She was a very beautiful Apsaras. So that's the story, what we know from the Rig Veda, lunar dynasty and solar dynasty of the kings. So here the Karma Yoga was declared to the kings of the solar dynasty. Evam parampara. Parampara is that tradition which passes knowledge from generation to generation. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduh. Raja rishis, the kings rishis. It's a class of kings who are totally spiritual, as it were. For example, Vishwamitra was Raja Rishi. He was the king Rishi. And Janaka king was Raja Rishi. So these are the great kings Rishis. So they passed this knowledge from generation to generation, Sakale Neha Mahata, and that knowledge with the great, with the due, how to put it, in the great lapse of time, that's how Sri Aurobindo puts it, with a lot of time, yoga, that yoga, nashtav parantapa, became lost, got lost in time. So with this tradition trying to preserve the knowledge, with time this knowledge got lost. Sa evayam maya tedya, Yoga Proktav Puratanach. And this ancient yoga today is declared by me to you. Bhakto si me, because you are my bhakta, you are my devotee, beloved. Sakha cheti, and my friend. Rahasyam yetatuttamam. This, the highest secret, the supreme secret, is declared to you today. Now, this supreme secret is karma yoga. Well, just nobody expected it to be so important. Yeah, we are talking about it all the time, and it seems that it is the very gist, the very sense, the very quintessence of the whole manifestation. So, what is this yoga about, karma yoga? Here Arjuna would ask something very down-to-earth question. Arjuna uvacha, aparam bhavato janma, param janma vivasvata, katham etat vijaniyam tvam adau proktavan iti. How can we say that you declared it to Vivasvat if you are born in this time and Vivasvat is born from the beginning of time? Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, and this blissful Lord said, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna. I have many births which are already past, and you also. We lived through many lives. Tanyaham Veda Sarvani. I know all of them. Natvam Vedha Parantapa, but you do not know about them. Ajopi san avyayatma, bhutanam ishvaropi san, prakritim svam adhishtaya sambhavami Atma Mayaya. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirbhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyam. This is the declaration of the avatarhood. Ajopi san, I am unborn. Ajah, though I am the unborn, being the unborn, Avyayatma, whose self is indestructible, Bhutanam Ishvaropi san, and I am the Lord of all the becomings and all the beings, Prakritim Svam Adhishtaya, having established my own Prakriti, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya, I am bringing myself to birth by my self Maya, Atma Maya. Now, Sri Aurobindo does not even translate self Maya, notice. It's quite interesting because this is the power of a mind, actually. Maya in the Veda is usually the power of the overmental consciousness, yeah? Power of formation of all the forms made in consciousness and power before they are embodied in the physical form. So by his own Maya, Yoga Maya, as he will say later in the Gita, by my own Yoga Maya, I bring myself to birth. Yada yada, whenever he, dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, there is a decline of dharma, abhyutanam adharmasya, and rising of adharma, tad atmanam srijam yaham, then I create myself. I come into into birth on earth. This is the birth of Avatar on earth. Whenever there is a decline of dharma and rising of adharma, and there is no way to establish the balance or to come to a new balance, new equilibrium, the divine takes birth and makes that shift possible. By the way, you know that Sri Aurobindo wrote many chapters on avatarhood in many different places. And somewhere he even mentions that avatar is not necessarily what we think. He doesn't need to speak or to teach. He may be totally silent. Yeah? But he comes and the whole shift of consciousness is taking place. He said even about Buddha in this way, that if Buddha would say nothing at all, his powerful presence and influence would be as strong as it is now. So it doesn't matter if we know about him or we follow his teaching. Teaching is not really the point. The point is that he brings the new change, shift of consciousness, supports an evolutionary rising of our consciousness. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. And in each yuga I am born here to support the rising of dharma and for the destruction of those who are dushkrit, those who do wrongdoings. Yeah? Paritranaya sadhunam, for the protection of sadhus, of the of the good, let us say, the pious ones, of those who are seeking the divine manifestation, and vinashaya, for the destruction of the evildoers, dushkritam. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti sorjuna. Those who know my divine birth and action in this way, as I declared here, in its essence, tattvatah, Tyaktva deham, having left their bodies, punarjanma naiti, they do not go to the birth, to the unconscious rebirth again. Mam eti sorjuna, he goes to me, he comes to me, who knows my birth and work here in this way as a divine action. So janma karma cha me divyam, divyam divine, janma birth, karma action, yoveti, who knows tattvatah in its essence, tyaktva deham, having left the body, or after death, punarjanma naiti, doesn't go to the automatic rebirth, unconscious rebirth. Notice I am adding some words here because it will be misunderstood that he is not coming to birth again. No, it's not that. It won't be automatically, unconsciously. It won't be compulsory, as it were. It will be a choice of the soul to be born again, to do the divine work. Mameti Sorjuna, he comes to me, O Arjuna. Yes, so that is a longish answer to the question, how could you declare to Vivasvat this yoga at the beginning? So he comes into this vision of avatarhood, of the divine who is supporting the whole evolution of consciousness and comes down. Maybe we should concentrate on this today then, rather than on the sacrifice itself, because it is a great sacrifice in a way that avatar is born here, and we can look into this, what Sri Aurobindo says on this topic. Would you like to concentrate on avatarhood today, since it is the part of the chapter?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit unexpected turn because I was thinking about Purusha Suktam and prepared the text, but we can come to Purusha Sukta in its time, when it will be about the sacrifice again. There will be, the whole chapter is following, and it will be kind of explaining what sacrifice is about.
Sorry, Vladimir.
Yes.
I have one question. We're talking about rebirth and unconscious souls. What is the what would you define the souls that, when you see millions of kids 2 years younger, older, that like in Yemen, elsewhere, they're dying? What kind of souls are these children born with?
Well, it's difficult to say. For me, I'm sure the mother could answer that question, but we can imagine that the evolution of souls is taking place constantly. We are constantly evolving. We are constantly enlarging our capacity, our divine capacities, and that is the reincarnation, why we are coming here. So if it is the case with other beings, it must be the same case. We are constantly looking for betterment of our instruments, and with that kind of improvement and evolution of our instruments of knowledge, we become more capable of manifesting the spirit. So how and why suddenly somebody comes and leaves, and he is born and he lives few years, and then as a child he dies? It's a very complex kind of question, which I
It's
can't.
almost like the soul saw the world around and was horrified and decided to leave. Didn't want to deal with this world.
Right, and many people nowadays, I hear this. We had in our sessions on the Vedas today. Actually, the person was confirming, telling me that in India many people don't want to live anymore, because they say, so what if everything is so bad, my business is down, everything is locked down? So, and they are being trained in this Advaitic vision that they can escape They
Yeah,
can
yeah,
go somewhere into the better world where there is no suffering, no struggle. Then they choose that. They easily choose, they give up on this struggle in this world. When there is a problem, difficulty, they give up.
yeah. There was an incident in the ashram. A childhood friend of mine got into an accident, and he was had brain trauma, and he was in the hospital in a coma, and he passed away a few days later. So the mother said that the soul had come to her and says that that this body cannot do any more with this body. That's why he has to leave, and that's why the soul left. So that there are situations where the body is incapable of carrying out the soul's mission, in a sense,
Right.
and decides to leave.
No, but that is quite clear. You cannot really function, so you cannot
Right,
fulfill your
right.
purpose. So you need to take another body. Now the body got destroyed. Yes,
By
there are
the
some.
same token, if you're a soul in a 2-year-old kid that is dying of starvation in Yemen, for example, the soul can have the same idea that it's going to be a non-functional body.
Could be the case. Could be also the choice of the soul to leave the body. Many times the soul chooses because it doesn't like the body which it took in. There is
Yeah,
the story with the famous story of Auro-san, who was who was born first son to Shyama and Frederick, and then he fell into this cistern and drowned. And
yeah,
they came to the mother and said, "What is this first son of Auroville drowned?" And she says, "Don't worry, he is with me."
yeah,
He's with me. His soul didn't like the body, didn't like
yeah,
the conditions of that body, and it
yeah,
decided to make a shortcut. It was the decision of the soul.
yeah, yeah.
So he fell into that water and
Right.
drowned.
Yeah,
But she says to Shyama and Frederica, "Create another son, and I will send this soul to him, to that another body."
right.
And they did, and he is known as Auro-san, though he is much younger than other kids which were born afterwards, and still
Yeah,
he is considered to be the first son of Auroville,
yeah.
because it is
Interesting.
it's a really mythology of Auroville if you think of it. Yeah. So there can be a
Okay.
decision of the soul, not necessarily
Yeah,
the, because when we are born, we are choosing the place of birth, not totally exactly as it should be. There is a variety of things which we may kind of disregard. For example, the soul can be born in a very difficult situation, difficult conditions, but it is good for its own work. So it chooses it anyhow. And then there are certain things which it may decide not to follow.
and the conditions like
So,
this, the mother recalls saying that the soul enters the fetus at 6 months. It's the second
Also,
trimester,
of
second trimester.
different, yeah, different ways, in 6 months, in 2 months, immediately after the birth, 1 year after. She
Yeah,
gives the whole description how soul can enter into the body. Sometimes she says soul never enters the body, and the body
mm.
lives without the soul.
So
It's a
yeah,
very
yeah,
rare case, but
right.
there are such cases in the world where there is no
so,
soul.
so I guess the soul can leave the body with its own preference, or could be the circumstances when the body can't handle life anymore, right? So there's so many situations, I guess, right? It's not always that the soul have wanted to leave. It could be forced to leave because the body
Yes,
couldn't, yeah.
it can be
Couldn't
forced
take
to
it.
leave because it's a not functional anymore body.
Yeah,
The soul
Ah,
cannot fulfill its purpose. So anyhow, soul decides to leave. It's quite interesting.
right.
Uh,
Sometimes, excuse me, sometimes the soul has accomplished all that it can in those particular circumstances, and then it makes the choice to leave.
absolutely.
It can be because the circumstances are difficult and provide so much opposition, or the body is failing, many different reasons for that. But once it's accomplished all it can in a life, even if it's a very short life, then it can decide to go.
Absolutely.
The other question is, how can a body live without a soul? You said the body, some souls enter the body after 1 year. I thought you need the soul for life.
No.
No?
You need vital being, mental being. You need this, these cautious. And the cautious are there. The Atman is providing the whole support. The soul, the spark, the individual, unique, psychic being may be far away or maybe still not there or coming later, or even sometimes this body can be hijacked by other forces. There are all possible varieties of relations. We should be
Goodness.
very open to, for example, Mother speaks on Stalin. Some of you may heard of Stalin,
Right.
who had no soul. There was no psychic being there. It was a
So
vital
it's
formation.
controlled by the vital, some
Yeah.
being from the vital world.
Yeah. Well, it's just for us to learn about ourselves and the world, how we function. Yes, we can't know it. We have to receive this knowledge from someone who knows.
I'll
You can't
just,
change it, you just accept it as it is.
Right. Yes, Radhe.
I was just going to say, I feel also, and I don't know that the mother specifically says anything about this, but situations I've seen where a child will just even die within 10 days, and because I'm a Jyoti, I can read the chart, and it appears in one particular situation that the child was a great healer, right? And in asking the parents, was there anything you noticed about this newborn that would suggest that that he or she, it was a she in this case, a great healer? And they said, because of the circumstances, the mother had not previously spoken to her mother for almost 5 years. And this impending death, the child was very ill, impending death of the newborn brought the mother and her mother back together. It healed the relationship between mother and daughter. And so I wonder if there aren't also situations in which the soul comes in as maybe even a commitment to another soul in a previous time, and learns from that, develops from that, but also sort of delivers on a commitment to another soul. So I'd be curious if the mother should have been to ever mention this sort of situation that could occur between souls.
Well, I do not know about that, but I'm sure it must be there, because the varieties of cases which Mother gives is so huge that nearly everything is possible,
Infinite possibilities.
Yeah. So we should not kind of think of this kind of selection of possibilities as possible or impossible. I think everything altogether is possible. Because soul can come and heal the relations between husband and wife and just leave the moment it is done. They become, one and forever together because they had a child for a few days. I do not know, what is the reason why the soul does this or that. There's deeper sense, there's a deeper experience needed for this, or to be born and to live and to see how it works for the soul. Maybe soul needs that experience and we have no idea why it is so.
Something that came up for me in this discussion was, well, first off, I thought I'm going to put on my nice shirt for class tonight. And then and I told and I said, it's nice to be seen, right? And then here's this chapter saying, well, we're not here to be seen. And then I thought of Aurobindo, Essays of the Gita, he's hot, he's in India, he's just wearing a sheet, and on my other wall, I have this overweight, naked Indian saint wearing, a loincloth just to be proper. And there's my guitar, so it's asking me, am I really attached to this shirt? Or am I more open, I guess? What is this wisdom? And whether I'm rich or poor, or at times either or. I guess it on some level it comes down to giving and receiving. I think Vladimir too. So that being in the spirit, I think when I say a prayer, I say, please God, let me be in the flow of giving and receiving, and let me not be shut off from that. But other than this, you know, it's there's more going on. You know, we have the Innocence Projects. There's men in prison who DNA, you know, they do 37 years in prison on and they were innocent. And you know, it's you know, part of me wants to say, oh, you're so lucky. Wow, all that karma. You know, you get to leave it here, and they would punch you if you told them that. But it's the expanded vision is amazing. I'll be quiet on that, but
yeah, for the soul, everything, every context in which soul is born is the field of action. Yeah, it is to bring consciousness in, to illumine the impossibilities, to learn something from these impossibilities, to acquire certain capacity and power and consciousness in difficult circumstances. And by the way, the difficult circumstances is actually very favorable for the soul's development, because it is calling for more attention, for more concentration. And if the soul agrees to do this, it grows very fast. So it's not necessarily that favorable circumstances are the best, not necessarily, but also not necessarily. So to say, I cannot say that it can't be favorable circumstances will be not good for the soul's development. It could be just exactly what it should be, you know. You have enough time for concentration, you have enough time for doing work, and you do it. You use that time properly, not wasting it. Yeah? Favorable time. So it's very, very complex question. So what we are doing here, and where we are heading at. We want to learn all possible relations with ourselves and the world, discover ourselves in everyone. That is the purpose. So we on the long journey, so much to discover still, and try out and fail many times, fail and fail and fail, and learn and learn and learn. Because that learning of the soul is all we get.
Hi, Vladimir. Excuse me. Can we go back to the sloka number 5?
Yes.
I think there is the first time when in the Gita, I think, when we find the statement of the possibility of reincarnation, I think.
Yeah, well, it is implied.
Janmani, no?
Yes, births, yes.
And but I try to link this with the Dr. Basu webinars.
Okay.
And when he make this commentary about from the point of view of Sri Aurobindo, he say there is the psychic being, the experiences of the psychic being, that is not going to the next life, the next reincarnations. And the experiences, the certain numbers, very few numbers of special experiences for the psychic being is coming back to the conscience cosmic, I think.
Yes, he mentions this. He mentions this.
Right. Yes. And then the concept of reincarnation for me is a little bit difficult to catch, because what we are talking about is the Jivatman.
No, we are talking about a psychic being. Yes, Jivatman is never. A psychic being is a projection of Jivatman, which is never born. Yes.
Right. Then the psychic being, when it's born, is one born, but it's not a sequence, repeated borns. I think this is not possible for reincarnation as a concept. Then Jamani,
Why it's not possible? I don't understand. Why do you say so? That it is not possible to what do you mean by reincarnation? By the way, I'm not totally sure whether I understand.
Okay. When we find this sloka number 5, we read Janmani.
It's births, yes.
Births, many births.
Yes, Vyatitani, past birth. Bahuni, many past births. Mine and yours, O Arjuna. I know all of them. You don't know about them. Yes.
Okay, who have many births?
Krishna and Arjuna.
Arjuna.
Yes, Arjuna and Krishna.
Right, but if we say Krishna, okay. But if we say, because I think it's a biggest concept, but if we are saying about Arjuna.
Yeah, and yours, O Arjuna. Yes, Tavacha Arjuna, and yours.
Okay, if Arjuna has many lives,
right?
Which part of Arjuna has many lives? Is the psychic being of Arjuna?
Psychic being, correct.
But what I understood from the Dr. Vasu talkings or webinars,
can I comment on this, what he said?
Yes.
Because that would clarify, since
Thank
we
you.
come to it again, and as if he said that actually the bigger number of experiences psychic being cannot really remember or take, because the awareness of psychic, of the deepest truth in us, is not a constant event in our life. It happens once in a while. By the way, those moments when we are conscious, totally conscious of our inner being, of the truth of our existence, are rare. And they are kind of fixed in our memory. When we will be dying, we will see our life running through within few seconds in front of our eyes. And those moments of the truth, they will stand out. These moments are the moments of awareness of the psychic. They are remembered. They are carried away. The rest becomes like mental, vital, and physical material, becomes the reservoir for the future, for others, like a food for thought, food of all these formations of our feelings, emotions. They become the reservoir. They go back to where they come from. And the psychic has these moments of awareness. That's why Mother speaks about this, that many people speak about, remembering the past lives. She says it's very difficult. It's hardly true, because you have to be totally aware of your psychic being to remember the past life, which is hardly the case, So only few beings on this earth who totally remember. That's why Sri Krishna says, I remember all of them. You don't remember them. Why Arjuna doesn't remember them? Because he is just having few moments here and there. And these few moments people catch in their kind of deepest memory, in their kind of particular process of remembering their past lives. And around them, with their minds, they build the whole picture. It's a little bit like an imagination of some kind, imagining that it was like this, on the ground of some truth, some feeling, some déjà vu feeling, around which you build the whole scenario of your life, that you were in India, that you were the boy, that you died in a certain way, and so on and so forth, that you were betrayed. That's why you have deep feeling. But you could actually take that deep feeling from the vital world, which somebody experienced there and left it as a vibration, and now it got stuck with you, and you feel betrayed. You feel that you have to resolve it. You just use the material of the vital, mental, and physical world for your own achievement and for your own evolution of your own psychic being. It's not necessarily yours. Yeah, that belongs to the reservoir of the whole nature, all the materials you take. But there is something uniquely yours, those few sparks, few openings on which you can really figure out that there was a life, there was a moment of truth in the past life. It's an interesting question, yeah, and I'm not sure that we have the answer to it unless we have the experience of it.
Yeah, more or less, more or less. What I understand about that is um, all your experiences, or if you want to say memories, when you pass away of in this body, finish, you share in a collective consciousness,
Yes.
and the next life in another body. Uh, Part of the soul can take down download a packet of information, maybe from
If needed, if
anyway,
needed.
if needed, and doesn't matter from what is the region of which life before.
Yes, doesn't matter. And if needed is an important addition, because the soul actually, once it is exhausting the capacity, the kind of experience, it doesn't want to draw the same thing and repeat the same story. It doesn't want that. Sri Aurobindo speaks about it. He didn't want to have that riding the horse, because he had enough of it in the past life. It was finished for him. So it's quite interesting to think in those terms. Something is completed, something is already understood. So the soul will not go back to that to repeat it. It is not interested to repeat anything which it experienced. It wants a new
Yeah, but
knowledge.
for me, the most difficult to
For all of us, it's not an easy. It's not like
yeah,
we know something. We just read and we think, and
yeah,
we learn it from the masters who know about it.
yeah.
Vladimir, I understand Shirbindo refused to take the riding class because he did not want to join the British civil service
Yeah, you're right.
in
Absolutely.
India.
He speaks about this officially, yes.
Right, right.
But later in the letters, you will find that he even French, he remembered from past life. He hardly learned French. He just remembered it. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
So
That's
he,
the
as a
exception.
conscious being, called to all his resources built in the past life and used them. They were kind of there, stored. We have a big and difficult question here. What is happening when we become totally conscious in our inner being? Because we build the immortal mental and vital beings, which we cannot even imagine what it means. But Mother did it. Yeah? She built her immortal mental and vital being and left them there somewhere, that they should not interfere for her work with the body. So she, as she says, she let them, walk around a bit and not to interfere. So what is interesting, that those formations, when she will be incarnated if suppose she will come and incarnate, she will call to those mental and vital formations, totally aware of her absolute, all the reincarnations, all her life, with all the
Didn't she
details.
say in the agenda that she will come back when the supramental body, or a body that can hold the supramental consciousness, is ready? At which point her mental, what she has stored in the mental, will be irrelevant in a sense.
Well, most probably, if we cannot really. Yes, if Sri Aurobindo comes first in the supramental body, definitely she doesn't even need that formation of the mental
Right.
immortal being. But
Because,
still, it is possible to do. Just imagine.
right,
And that's
right.
what she was working with physical. She wanted to build the physical in the same way, to have it
Right.
immortal, which would stay with all the formations of mental, vital, and physical, with
Yeah.
the soul in front and the supramental guiding. This is the ideal of the integral yoga, which is far beyond the wildest imagination of any other yoga.
because for the first time it brings the physical into the picture.
Yes. And not only physical, but vital and mental can be also immortalized for the
Yes,
sake of the physical, actually.
right.
Immortalized means totally aware, totally formed, absolutely flexible, open to learn, to move, to grow, to full awareness within this self, mental self. Well, we deviated far away from the Gita and what Gita says, but maybe this deviation was also necessary to understand what we are dealing with. So interestingly about avatars, I was wondering, because Mother mentions two types of avatars, as you remember, the one who is born totally aware and the one who is becoming an avatar after being born. And she says that it is much more difficult to become an avatar when you were born not an avatar. So what is born avatar? It is Sri Krishna, for example. He was aware from the beginning of all his divinity, from his childhood. Sri Aurobindo speaks about the mother in the same way. He says that she is in born avatar. She remembered herself from the very beginning as a divine being. But Mother speaks of Sri Aurobindo that he became an avatar. And it was necessary for the sake of the work he came to do, to convert us, to help us who are not the divine beings to become the divine beings. He had to experience it in himself and then to bring this knowledge to the rest of us. And that makes sense. I asked this question to Kiri Joshi long ago. Some of you may have known him. He was the chairman of our Auroville Foundation, and he was my kind of mentor. He was bringing me to all the conferences in ICPR everywhere, because I studied Sanskrit, and he was so happy that somebody in Auroville was studying Sanskrit, so we became friends. And he was telling very interesting vision on avatarhood, how Sri Aurobindo is an avatar, how he was born and became an avatar if before he was only a vibhuti. So he says that actually who we call Sri Aurobindo, who was reincarnated in the time of French Revolution, who was Leonardo da Vinci before, who was, so in each age he was somebody who acquired as an instrument a particular knowledge or capacity which was, how to say, managed by the higher being, supramental being, who was slowly, gradually preparing its instrumentation to be incarnated. And that is another Sri Aurobindo, supramental avatar, who was preparing all these reincarnations until they were ready. The instrument was totally ready. We know how Sri Aurobindo was, yeah? What memory he had. He had a phenomenal memory. He could read the book and remember each page. So how can you develop such an instrument? Yeah. When he was writing in Arya, he was writing from memory, all his references to Rig Veda and other scriptures. It's incredible if we think of it.
Didn't the mother also say that there was never a time that she and Sri Aurobindo was not here?
Right, as Vibhutis, yes.
Yeah.
Vibhutis is another concept. We will come to the concept of Vibhuti later in
But
chapter 10.
in this development of the instrument and the knowledge and all,
Absolutely.
it's a constant unfolding and growth that was being prepared for this
Yes.
time.
Yes. In that way, they were constantly here looking after the development of the instruments. Yes. And most probably not only in one simple lineage, but maybe many, many different beings. Parts of this consciousness was involved in creation of many different instruments, which are needed for the complexity of the future manifestation.
I would say, I love the image. I'm jumping in, but the avatars come and so do the devotees. And I'm looking at them now. It's you, and it's me on some level. And I love it. Rama's birthday, he came to do this great battle, but all the devotees needed to be born as monkeys and bears, and all the devotees also came to do the avatar's work. So it's a very beautiful collage, I would say.
Absolutely, this is
Here
the
they
whole
are,
group.
and here you are, and here
And
we all
here
are.
we
Here we
continue.
all are.
Yes, we are
It's
all drawn
very
by
beautiful.
to this. Yes, absolutely. You are absolutely right. Together with Avatar, the whole group comes, and Mother speaks about this to her children in the ashram, that we met many times in past lives. We worked together for thousands of years before. You don't remember that, but she says, as Krishna here, I remember that. Yes, I know who you are. You can see this vision also in the Ramayana, for example. There was a Tamil Ramayana, Tamil version of Ramayana, since you mentioned Ramayana, and it is Hanuman's Jayanti coming, so it's appropriate to mention it. In the Tamil version of Ramayana, it's quite interesting that Vishnu, before the whole story, he sits there in heaven with all the devatas, godheads, and tells them that we have to engage now, we have to come down and do the conquest. We have to, to fight with Ravana. So I will be Rama, and who will be who? So roles were given to different Apsarasas, Gandharvas, Devatas, all different gods. So who will play Hanuman? Then there is one Godhead. I will be Hanuman. Who will be something? Dasharatha. I will be Dasharatha. So, and then when all the roles were given, he says, but there is one role which is very difficult, and that is the role of Kaikeyi, the wife who demanded the exile of Rama and Sita. Yeah? The beloved wife of Dasharatha. Who will play this role for me, he says. You will be hated in this life and the next forever. Who can do this for me? And every god turned away. But there was one Apsarasa. She said, I will do this for you. And she became Kaikeyi. As the greatest bhakta of Lord Vishnu. So you could see that even those roles which are seemingly negative, and they are playing the most important part in the incarnation of Vishnu and his conquest. And that's what Sri Aurobindo learned in Alipur jail, what he speaks in his Uttarbara speech, that Krishna revealed to him that all are doing his work. Even those who are fighting against Krishna, they are doing his work. They just don't know about it.
Even Arjuna had to have taken many, many, many lives and rebirths to be in the position he was, which is to receive this great secret and teaching of Sri Krishna. So, so yeah, he's also in many ways a very exalted individual of the time.
Yes, yes. We had this Darshan day, and we listened to the mother's reading of Savitri, 4 boons she receives. And when these boons of coming to her, then immortality is actually activated or actualized, as it were. And what is interesting in that description is that all the activities in the world will remain. And there will be also suffering, opposition, fight. But behind everything of this, there will be the divine face visible. We would feel the presence of the divine in every event. It's not that we all become very peaceful and very like jelly, happy jelly, no difference. No, there will be. The world will continue. But everything will be charged with the divine bliss and presence. And this is something to think of. Great.
Vladimir,
Yes.
can you talk a little bit more about the group soul?
Group soul. There's Mano, yes, which
Yes.
we all are coming as a group, and there are Manvantaras, Manu Antara, the births of Manu. Yes? So the Manu is the matrix of our group soul, or the intention which group soul as human beings are to come to the one bigger period of time with certain plan or vision of fulfillment. And each Manvantara starts with the Vedas. Vedas are brought down by rishis, these avatars, these involutionary beings. We did mention that avatars are involutionary beings. And they come down and bring this higher knowledge, this higher plan, vision, which we as a group soul represent. We made that plan. And when we come down, so we need that plan to be in some form of the Veda or some form of knowledge, which has to be from generation to generation passed. So the Vedas are passed from generation to generation. That knowledge is to be kept. That we have to remember what we are here for. We have to have that kind of direction of development. So this is the why the Vedas are there and rishis. So they bring that knowledge to us. And then around this knowledge, we build the whole body of knowledge, the whole culture, the cult, the rituals, everything what we have. The whole culture is built around this knowledge. So we should not forget what we are here for. And once this period of Manvantara is finished, we are coming to the final Kali Yuga, and we see that we cannot anymore, with our plan, face the darkness and change anything in this world. We do not have any more resources. We do not have the vision. Our knowledge is exhausted, as it were. Then we depart. There is a pralaya in between. There is a long period where there is the same as reincarnation of individual soul, the same reincarnation of the group soul. We withdraw into our world, into our luminous world, where we again envision and remember all the difficulties we could not solve in meeting the inconscient, the infinite darkness. And with a new plan, with a new Veda, we again come down as a group soul for another Manvantara, and so on and so forth.
And there are specific godheads that come in each Manvantara with very specific powers to help humanity deliver on the promise that we all committed to when we were when we joined or agreed to do this work. So it's really interesting, this whole idea of Manvantaras and involved rishis coming down to bring the Vedas, and the Vedas holding future possibilities for that Manvantara, and with them all various godheads, different godheads in each Manvantara for the powers that will be needed. And to me, the most amazing thing is that we all agreed at the beginning to do this work, that we are privileged. We are the privileged ones. We are the lucky ones to be here and doing the work. So it's a wonderful, wonderful vision.
Yes, and opportunity for us. We are given this knowledge by those who remember, those who know what we are here to do. And of course, these Manvantaras, Vedas, they are, just look at India. India tried to preserve these Vedas with, thousands of generations of Brahmins, millions of people, just to learn the text by heart and to pass it on just the text. It doesn't matter if we don't remember, don't know what it means. Means we keep the text, we keep that vibration, that intention. It is still there. They're still passing, they're still learning in Gurukulas by heart without reading the text, word from the teacher directly. Because that is the purpose, to keep it. The Brahmins had to keep that level of knowledge for the humanity. And now we are reading it, we try to think about it, we try to embody it, to understand it. It's already happening. Yeah. Great, so we can stop here. Unfortunately, we didn't take what we planned, but we will take it next time. The Purusha Suktas and other sacrifice. What is this sacrifice about? What is being sacrificed and what for? What are we here making sacred with? Yeah, we have a sacred power which comes down and makes everything sacred in a manifestation. That is the plan, the vision. All right, I will close with mantra if you don't mind. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santo Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And about psychic being, we can still discuss how psychic being can call upon all the instruments which it built in the previous reincarnation. I'm saying this to Siegfried because that question is not resolved yet. Yeah, it is kind of connected to the same vibration, to the same experience. There is some kind of affinity or ease. At ease, it can use the instruments which it already mastered. So in a way, it calls upon them.
Thank you. You read my mind. I lose the link. I'm searching that link. Thank you.
Okay, great, lovely. Okay, all the best and have a nice evening. See you.
Thank you, Vladimir.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.